Hey everybody, welcome back to Breaking into Cyber. My name's Andrew, and today I have a special guest, someone from my network that I actually play games with. I talked to also through the military, through one of my buddies that we were able to connect through. David Valle, who is an Amazon dedicated cloud engineer with Amazon. And David, I'm going to pass it to you for a quick little hello to introduce yourself.
Hey, yeah, like I said, my name is David. I've been working with Amazon about almost 2 years now, and it's really a great company to be at. One of the big FANG type of companies. But getting on a team doesn't feel like that all the time. Things break, and it feels like it's a startup. But that's just the way it goes, right?
Well, hey, so glad you can make it on the channel tonight with us. So I'm going to go ahead and we have 5 questions we like to ask everybody when it comes into breaking into cyber. So I'm going to hit you with the first question and we'll kind of go from there. So could you share your journey into cybersecurity field and initially what sparked your interest?
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, it was never inevitable for me to go into IT. I started out going to college really for political science. I did Spanish. I did an MBA afterwards. Um, and I'm sure you can tell none of that has anything to do with technology. But growing up, I was always interested. I loved video games, and I saved up my allowance because my dad would not buy me a computer to eventually put enough parts together to build my first computer. And really from there, I just wanted to keep on going. It's a lot of fun, putting it together, troubleshooting that first boot, and nothing works. Uh,
Always. Why is it
and then
not
once you
turning
actually get it to
on?
work, yeah. So I can see the fan spinning. Why is there nothing on the screen? Um, but yeah, that really did get me interested in technology. So once I actually did graduate, I kind of went tangentially into the tech industry, mostly doing like sales and marketing for this company called Darktrace. It's a cybersecurity company. They, kind of brought in a lot of the AI stuff before it was really a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I imagine they're doing pretty well now. This was like 2018, 2019. And some value added resellers, things like that. And I really just found that I was way better at the technical side than I was the, sales and marketing side. And that really got me thinking, why don't I go towards like an engineering route? So I joined up with the Army. I did a job there that would let me, kind of use some more of my tech skills. Army is a great place to train those kinds of things because, they're always happy to give you all the training you can handle and more. So,
Definitely. So
yep. Yep. So, and you get paid. You get paid to train. So,
it's
can't
it
complain too much about that.
it's a great way where I've kind of same thing with I leverage the military to kind of break into IT additionally to kind of strengthen my skills. And I changed my job through the army as a military police officer into an all source analyst, which is like kind of like a cyber threat intel analyst with the team I worked with, and then pivoting over to my 170 Alpha course right now to become a cyber warfare technician. So yeah, the military I think is 100% a great way to kind of hone and kind of enhance some skills. Definitely.
Absolutely. And yeah, going through there, I was contacted on LinkedIn. I guess I must have a pretty good profile because I had no idea about AWS. I didn't know anything about any of that. But they reached out. They said, we're looking for veterans. You've got this experience, and we think you'd be a good fit for Amazon. So I applied, I interviewed, and the rest is history. I've been digging my job at Amazon for, like I said, almost 2 years now.
Awesome. Well, that's actually great because it kind of bleeds into our second question. What does a typical day look like in your role, and what are some of the most challenging aspects in your job in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so the nice thing with cloud technology specifically is I get to wear a lot of different hats. I really started out, just kind of doing training, getting different certs. I got my Linux Plus, my Security Plus, AWS Cloud Architect, and Cloud Practitioner. And that really did a lot to prepare me for my future roles in Amazon. The way that my program works is I got to rotate with different teams and learn sort of different sectors of the cloud environment and kind of decide what best suited me. So I rotated for a few months with a team that did cybersecurity, so ADC, like Amazon, like cybersecurity within the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely very focused on things like authentication, and knowing the ports and
Yep.
all that kind of good stuff. So when I was doing that, I would say my day really consisted a lot of, hey, this authentication is not working. Why don't you go ahead and fix that? And that's what I would do. That like you would get like certifications that go onto certain servers. That's a big part of it. Sometimes they would expire, sometimes they would stop working for whatever reason. You get to update and renew them. Um, so just like troubleshooting, you going into Linux is a big thing for Amazon. So I get to run into Linux. I ping, I do netstat, all that kind of stuff. Okay, what's not working? How do I fix it? Then I went into workspaces where I got to work with more like VDIs,
Okay.
and totally different ballgame. Like I was mostly trained to and used to working on Linux machines, and all of a sudden, when you're working on VDIs, well, the average user is not using a Linux machine; they're using Windows.
Yep.
So you get to run in there and say, okay, well, I'm taking my Linux skills and I'm seeing how I can apply this to things like PowerShell. So a lot of like working within the Amazon console and spinning down, spinning up different instances for figuring out why they're not working and seeing how what I need to do to fix them. And a lot of that would be like actually tunneling into the VDI and pulling up logs, seeing what went wrong, and hopefully fixing it. And it's always a team, collaborative effort. I'm always working with different teams, like we call them the service team. So that's the team that works. They program the whole thing. I'm not really a programmer. I'm more of an engineer in the sense that I'm going into the service and finding the problem, telling them what the problem is in the most detailed way that I can,
Yep.
and integrating their solution.
Have you
So,
have you found it easier that when you had to go learn and get your Linux certification when you went into the different coding languages like PowerShell, Python, did you find it easier or more complex with some of the differences when it came to like I'll pretty much say Windows, Linux, so like going from like your Linux commands to over to PowerShell?
oh, absolutely. And I think, if anything, the logic really persists throughout the different systems. Like when I'm working in a Linux terminal, I sort of am keeping track in my mind because it's not a graphical interface like we're used to on Windows. Okay, the file that I'm looking for is likely to be in this section, right? Well, I can't just go into the search bar and type in,
Yeah.
how do I, where is log? Like, I would actually have to find or create a command to do that. And that logic will work in both Linux and PowerShell. The commands are always, you can always find everything pretty much on Google, but you need to know what you're looking for.
Definitely.
So when you're running in Linux, you figure out, the right words that you can type into Google to find what you're looking for, and the same thing works in PowerShell. So learning one is highly transferable to the other.
Definitely. And speaking of learning, that actually bleeds in perfectly to our next question. For someone looking to start a career in cybersecurity in 2024, what skills and qualifications would you recommend they focus on acquiring?
Yeah, so I am I consider myself fortunate enough to work in the government space. So anytime you're touching any kind of a government computer, you need to have a Security Plus certification.
Yep.
That really should be your baseline. If you're not terribly comfortable going straight for the Security Plus, it can be a little bit difficult if you're not used to taking certs. You can start with A Plus or Net Plus if you feel like you need to, because those do teach you the fundamentals that will get you to the Security Plus certification. Um, and then for what I do, the cloud aspect of it, and even cybersecurity in general, I find Linux to be just incredibly useful. Uh, Even if you're doing non-cloud cybersecurity, you're probably going to be touching a server at some point,
Yep.
and pretty much every server is going to be Linux. I mean, there's a few Windows servers, but realistically, Linux is the industry standard. So learning just even your basic Linux commands, learning the environment is gonna be very useful for a cybersecurity engineer or a cloud engineer.
Yeah, no, I'm toying around with like cloud fundamentals and maybe the cloud plus. I'm looking to possibly here get in like the next. I'm probably gonna take the cloud fundamentals just as a good little touch point to. Cloud's the next big thing, and if not already is the next big thing that obviously a lot of organizations are starting to move to. A lot of defense organizations, both private sector and DoD, are already concerned with, hey, how do you hunt in the cloud? How do you defend in the cloud? So it's like getting and understanding everything when it comes to what's the next thing to learn and what is important on understanding baselines in those concepts, I think are huge. And just like you said, the Security Plus is, I call it the gateway cert into IT security. One, it's going to teach you a lot of the acronyms and basic kind of fundamentals of like, what does it mean to be secure? What kind of attacks can you see from those bad guys or threat actors that are trying to get into an organization's network? And kind of just like you said, like it's a lot of the skills that you're going to learn from top to bottom, including Linux, are going to be very transferable on a lot of the different coding languages that you're going to be touching and learning on your kind of way into cyber and IT. So, and perfectly leading into the next question for how do you keep up with the growing, evolving landscape of cybersecurity, threats and technologies, and maybe even pivoting specifically, maybe even for like AWS, Amazon. And are there specific resources or practices that you find invaluable?
Sure. Yeah. I'm lucky enough, Amazon is a big company. We have a lot of resources at our disposal. One of them being that we have almost are inundated with, we do lunch and learns at the company.
Excuse me.
We
Ooh.
have, bless you.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have lunch and learns. We have devs coming down, really just kind of surrounding yourself with people who know what they're talking about and know what they're doing is for me one of the best ways to learn about this kind of stuff. I'm lucky enough to have these coworkers that some of them have been working at AWS, working in the industry for 10, 20 plus years. And especially in the military section of it, a lot of them are cybersecurity engineers. So I get a lot of my news from them. But as far as, initially learning this stuff, because if you're going to have like a conversation with these kinds of people, an intelligent conversation, well, you got to at least know, like you said, the acronyms. And for me, a really good resources that I found for getting, these certifications that teach you that were things like A Cloud Guru.
Yep.
There was one that totally random, but I actually really helped me a lot getting my Linux certification, and probably pretty good on other ones too, called CBT Nuggets. Um,
Ooh, CBT
yeah,
nuggets. I'm gonna write that
I
one down.
found I found that the teacher on there really like dumbed things down in a way that really made a lot of sense to me. And I know that he does a few different courses. I think that the teacher guy actually is independent now. I don't think he's with CBT Nuggets anymore, and he does. I know he does some YouTube videos and stuff, but
Cool.
I'd have to
Okay.
kind of go down the rabbit hole to figure out who exactly it is. But YouTube, obviously a great resource. I really like Professor Messer, his stuff. He is just got everything under the sun. Anything you want to learn about, that's really a good place to go to. And like I said, A Cloud Guru is useful because you can get more hands-on.
I
They have
think
these self-contained.
they have labs, I think, right? I think I've done one or two at
Yep.
the Cloud Gurus, yeah, too. So it actually gets you in like a spun up instance, which is pretty sick. So for those that have
Yeah.
never done testing through like CompTIA or SANS, on some of the questions, other than like your multiple choice A, B, C, D, it will have you do like a, hey, do this. And so you're actually going into a box or something to where you're having the need to create something or maybe run commands. I'm sure for the Linux one, and I haven't done the Linux certification, but I'm pretty sure for the Linux one, I'm sure it has you in terminal and actually having you create or do something.
Yep. Yep. And you can only break it so much. If you break it, you just reopen it and you're good to go. So that's a really big deal. Like if you try to spin up your own, you could break it. But A Cloud Guru doesn't let you do that. They give you guardrails.
Well, it actually followed perfectly to our next one, kind of as we're talking about YouTube and other videos that we've kind of learned and kind of taught from, or learned from. Who are your role models in cybersecurity in the cybersecurity industry and or related fields, and how have they influenced your approach into your career?
Yeah, so I would say aforementioned Professor Messer, I mean, just the way that he talks about things really just makes a lot of sense. And I really like listening to him. Um, as far as people within the industry, um, I've mostly got my AWS folks to look up to. Uh, we got our CEO, Andy Jassy. I think that he's doing a pretty good job there at the helm. And I find that, reading the white papers and things that these people write are pretty amazing. I'm sure there's plenty of public stuff for, these AWS higher ups. I would not lie to you and say that I can recall exactly which ones I usually look at because I just kind of get the email and then I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. That kind of resonates with me. But how Outlook is, it can be hard to find stuff on there. So um, yeah, really just my coworkers, I would say, are the people that I most look up to. It's because they're in the positions that I want to be. I want to progress in my career, move forward, and get to where they are.
Yeah, getting to work with any coworker, whether they're their peers or your leads or your supervisors, and having those conversations into the next, like they're in the next, like just like you said, they're in the positions you want to come and get into. Like you want to learn more, and like by doing so and having those positive conversations and kind of like learning moments, not only makes you a better analyst or a better uh, worker, I guess, in a sense, but it can also just make you a better leader. It can make you understand concepts that maybe you just kind of missed over or passed over and never kind of really thought of, or completely just open up a completely different doorway of like how to solve a problem that like, hey, I've always done it this way, but here's another two different ways you can actually solve that problem. So, yeah, coworkers I think are huge, so, and I think they're sometimes overlooked. Like, oh, like I have like John Hammond and Network Chuck and like Dion Learning and Professor Messer, and that's great because that's like your at home self-taught learning. But like then you go back and like we'll rewind. Like during my work week, I asked one of my coworkers these 5 questions, and they helped me tremendously on a case, or they helped me kind of get through a problem I was facing. And it's like those are those strong kind of key points too when it comes to mentorship that I think sometimes people will overlook, and it's like, oh yeah, man, like man, my lead or even like one of my other analysts or my coworkers, even junior analysts, have shown me multiple things where I've never, like, I didn't know I could do that, or I didn't know you could do that. Oh yeah, so, but yeah, it's just having that conversation and like being willing to open up your mind to other ways to solve a problem. So But yeah, those are the 5 questions. I ask one more always at the end of my our time here. And has there been anything fun outside of cyber, or inside cyber related? I guess it's been burning the midnight candle. You've been doing for fun lately. Anything you've been kind of doing to unwind or relax at the end of the long work weeks?
Yeah, I just got the new DLC, or I guess it's probably not that new anymore, but new to me, DLC for Horizon Forbidden West. I've been
Ooh,
playing
okay.
the Burning Shores and a little bit of Beat Saber actually.
Oh, Beat
I don't
Saber.
know. Every once in a
Okay.
while, the bug just kind of hits me. I'm like, I want to splash some boxes.
What song on Beat Saber is your go-to?
Ooh, there's a few. I one that always gets the blood pumping is "Humble" by Kendrick Lamar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that little breakdown he does, right in the middle of the song, you're just splashing away.
One of my friends here at class, he brought his VR and he has it set up in his room. And he's like, he'll watch movies in there, or he's like, there's it's like some pirate game that comes with this is like his VR thing that it was like it's a like a stand, like, oh yeah, it's just one of the games that came naturally with it. He's like, dude, it's the funnest thing ever. And he's like, I actually told him I had to go check it out because he has like the sensors and everything up in his room to play. It's too funny. But that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone here sticking around if you've gotten it to this part of the video. And as always, you're going to get some awesome, cool Ginger hacker swag by attending. So I really appreciate your time here. And any final kind of words, or maybe kind of words of wisdom to anyone that's wanting to kind of get into that next field, wants to break out of their current job and move into cyber and do that kind of job hop. Any advice?
Sure. Yeah. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but it's kind of my thing. Learn Linux. Linux is awesome. Not enough people know Linux, and once you learn the basics, you can just do anything with one of these terminals. So, learn your commands, learn what Linux can do, and you'll be lethal.
Awesome. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around. Really appreciate you breaking into this episode for Breaking into Cyber. And please stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks.